Just your boy's luck. So we're going to talk about AEW Dynamite, but I have to make a couple, maybe one or two confessions. Confession number one, I did not watch 1 second of any match on this show. I can't tell you whether the match was good or not. I can only tell you the match was long. I did not watch 1 second of any of these matches. I did not watch anything. All right. The matches, the bell rang and I started doing something else until I heard the bell ring again. So I don't know what happened. I do know who won or lost, and we'll talk about that. 2, I was so frustrated and pissed off about this show. I actually left, turned the channel, went and started recording this video before the show was over. I thought the show was over. It wasn't over. So I know who won the main event, but I missed the house being burned down. I didn't see that. I had to see it through Twitter. So there it is. Not like I give a shit. Just letting you know. That wasn't enough to get me to watch the rest of this show. I need to get to bed early. Okay? So, after those confessions are being made, welcome to 3 Count Commentaries. We're going to talk about this show, AEW Dynamite, from September the 4th, 2024. We're going to talk about Ricky Starks finally breaking his silence on his AEW hiatus. We're going to talk about the All-In star ratings because they're hilarious. But of course, our top story is going to be the WrestleNomics All-In attendance and the correction of said attendance. We're going to talk about that. And then after all of this, near the end of the show, we're going to do AEW All-Out predictions. So strap in, folks. We're gonna get busy. So WrestleNomics emailed Brent Council to get the turnstile for AEW All In, and the number they got was 46,476, which is about what I suggested. I knew it was going to be somewhere between 45 and 48 because AEW announced that Tony Khan on Twitter said it was over 50,000 people in the building. WrestleTix, which is an arm of WrestleNomics, said it was 53,593 people in the building. So this is a 36% drop from the previous year. Almost 40% drop is pretty noticeable. It's pretty big time. I think, 46,000 people is still good. You know, it's still very good. I'm not going to, beat them up too much for the drop. A 40% drop is pretty big, but 46,000 people is good. That's a great house for AEW, considering they can't even get 2,500 people for a Dynamite. And considering, and we're going to skip ahead a little bit, for All Out, they got less than 7,000 people. All right. So for them to go to 46,000 last week to less than 10,000 this week, that's amazing. I don't know any wrestling promotion that has ever done that in history. How do you go from, and it's pay-per-view to pay-per-view, not, WrestleMania, they typically would do something like that. They'd do a huge house for WrestleMania, and then it'll be like a respectable 10, 12,000, but it won't be anywhere near the 50,000 that they've done for WrestleMania. But this building, I think, is even smaller than the building that they ran in Chicago last year for All Out. So AEW is struggling. They down on their knees. But we'll talk more about All Out when we get there. So All In's number has sent a lot of the fans into a tizzy. They're, why is Thurston trying to dispel the rumors of what the attendance is for All In? He don't do that for WrestleMania. He does, by the way. And what people don't realize is that WrestleMania 3 is basically like the Kennedy assassination of pro wrestling. Meltzer has initially, and we could go back and look at some of the really old newsletters where he accepts the 93,000 number for WrestleMania 3. And then some years later, he decided it was only like 70 some odd thousand people in WrestleMania. And I would imagine he used also the turnstile count, but I don't remember how he came to that number. So, and I couldn't find on the Internet Archive, which will probably be dead soon, I couldn't find an observer from that era that would quote unquote correct that number. So I don't know how he got from 93,000 whatever to whatever he said it was in the Pontiac Silverdome. But in any event, these shows, they have people who bought tickets and then there's people who showed up. I think WrestleNomics claims that 16% of the tickets were not sold. No, 13%. I'm sorry. So here is part of the report from WrestleNomics. Says these numbers suggest around 87% of the tickets distributed ended up being used for both this year's and last year's event. It seems surprising that as many as 13% of the tickets sold or given away end up not being used. But that percentage is consistent with records we obtained and reported on earlier this year related to AEW Revolution in Greensboro, where 16,111 tickets were distributed and 13,950, or 87%, was actually used. So there's about a 15% inflation of the numbers there. Likely scalpers, or there's some buybacks going on. I don't want to. I think I accused Tony Khan of buybacks before. I shouldn't do that. That is uncouth. So I'm not going to say by buybacks. What I mean is Tony Khan is paying for the tickets. I don't believe that. I'm not going to say that. I'll probably accuse him of it before. I reserve the right to accuse him of it in the future, but I'm not going to say he's been doing that now. I'll just say that likely there were some scalpers that just couldn't sell the tickets. So a 36% drop for Wembley, that's a real gut punch. But it's still a lot of money for AEW. It's still their most successful event of the year. It's one of the top successful events of the year, right up there with WrestleMania. It did a good job, you know. I don't know what the turnstile count was for SummerSlam, but I would imagine it's around the same. So maybe it's not on the same level as WrestleMania, but it probably is on the same level as SummerSlam. Probably just either a little bit over or a little bit under, one or the other. So all in, the Meltzer star ratings have also come in for this event. Just because I like to see what Meltzer thinks about these things. Not that I care, but I know some people have asked me to do this after AEW has a big event, to look at Meltzer's star ratings. So here's the star ratings for AEW All In. Swerve Strickland and Bryan Danielson, 5.25 stars. Oh, okay. I don't know if I wouldn't give it 5 stars, let alone 5.25. But I'm not a Danielson glazer. I'm just a fan, you know. Darby Allin versus Jack Perry, 2.75 stars. Man, did one of these guys steal his wife? Sheesh. Mercedes Moné versus Britt Baker, 2.5 stars. Oof. No wonder Britt Baker ain't been seen since. They running her off. They running her out of the field. MJF versus Will Ospreay, 5 stars. Oh goodness, I wouldn't say it was 5 stars, but what? These things feel very inflated. 5 stars for MJF versus Will Ospreay. Come on, really? What was 5 star about it? I guess the same thing. At least Danielson and Strickland had the internal story of Danielson overcoming the odds and fighting for his family and all that. Will Ospreay is basically having the same match Will Ospreay always has. Whatever. The Casino Gauntlet, 4.5 stars. I guess, you know, if you take into account the surprises, I still wouldn't have it at 4.5, even with the surprises. And crazy enough, Christian won this match, and we ain't seen him since. Like, Christian won this Casino Gauntlet and disappeared into thin air. I ain't seen this guy since. Where the hell has he been? All right. The Young Bucks versus FTR versus the Acclaimed, 4.25 stars. This is nonsense. This is one of the worst matches on the show. Legit, this sucked. How is this 4.25 stars? This was terrible. Hook versus Chris Jericho, 3 stars. This was also terrible. This was worse than Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker. This was awful. How is this 3 stars? Mariah May versus Toni Storm, a legitimately good match. 3.75 stars. Holy hell. Holy hell, man. Wow. Okay. And the Trios ladder match was 4.5 stars. This is a disaster. This guy has no taste whatsoever. I mean, you would think that Meltzer would be into graps, but I'm more of a story guy. Maybe that's why I like Toni Storm more, and I like Danielson and Swerve more, because those are more story matches, and he prefers the high action matches, which is fine, except the fact that most of these high action matches, I find them to be boring, because these guys is a bunch of no selling and guys trying to empty the chamber on each other in front of a crowd that doesn't really follow the match and just cheers because there's people in the ring. So that's unfortunate. Highly unfortunate, but I hope you guys are happy because you talked me into doing these star ratings. Okay, so that's 2 off our list. Let's talk about now the comment that Ricky Starks made on Twitter. Ricky Starks decided to comment on a comment made about him on Twitter. And this is going to be very, very interesting. Now, I could do news and notes for a long time because I know that certain people have made comments that were absolutely ludicrous. And I could fill this entire episode with just Mark Henry, and Big Show talking about wrestling. Mark Henry talking about, if I wrestled MJF, it'd be the best match you saw this year. I'd be like, Mark Henry, get the fuck out of here. You can't even stand up. You can barely walk. You can barely waddle. And Big Show, please. If I wanted to watch synchronized wrestling, I would literally watch women do it, not giant 500-pound sacks of shit. But to Ricky Starks, okay? So, a fan said, literally anyone who is going to be pushed as a top champion needs to prove that they can handle the smaller things first. The fact that his attitude, when given the smaller opportunities, was to pout and disagree with creative is the main reason why he didn't get bigger shots. And this is a person taking a shot at Ricky Starks. Now, because it's AEW, and AEW wrestlers they are incontinent on Twitter. That if you criticize them or say anything about them, they will reply. Ricky Starks tweeted out, "Enough is enough. Usually I don't speak on this, but it's tired. I never turn down anything. Ever. Just stop." So, he's saying, he's disagreeing with all the stories that said these people are lying. And I like that. Because he didn't go into any real detail. He just says, I didn't do it. It didn't happen. Never turned down any creative. Not difficult to work with. These guys just suck. He's on the bad end of everybody politically, which we all know. And it's ugly that they put out there that he has a terrible attitude and all this kind of stuff. Which is just, poison in the well. Because they know he wants to leave. And who wouldn't want to leave at this point? I mean, my God. Do you see what they've been doing at Danhausen? They spent 2 days. I'm talking, and by they, I'm sorry. The AEW fans spent 2 days roasting Danhausen. What did Danhausen do? Nothing. A Danhausen fan wanted to have Danhausen on the show. And these people spent 2 days talking about how terrible Danhausen is. The same people who were super happy that Danhausen got the job 2 or 3 years ago. It's psychotic. I don't know, man. I was never team Danhausen. But I looked at that and it was like, man, these people are crazy. And it's like they have decided that if you're friends at all with CM Punk, then you have to get out of AEW and they have to run you out of AEW. And Danhausen is friends with CM Punk, so they got to get they got to get him out of there. I don't understand why Tony Khan lets this stuff linger instead of just making a clean break. You know, I don't understand it. Just let it go. All right, let's get into this show. I'm gonna try to be quick. Daniel Garcia, he wanted to argue with MJF. For starters, he wanted to fight him. So MJF is sitting in the crowd, however. Daniel Garcia doesn't want to wait. They talk about breaking each other's necks, which is not believable because both of them are pencil neck geeks. Daniel Garcia settled in by saying that MJF is fake, that his tan is fake, that his makeup that covers his acne is fake, that his hair transplant that he went to Turkey to get is fake and it didn't work, which got a huge pop out of me. That was very good. And then he lost me by talking about MJF's fake love for AEW. His tattoo is fake, and nobody believes him when he says he loves this company. I was like, bro, I'm checked out mentally right now. I don't give a fuck about this company. Stop telling me how much you love this company. Stop it. Stop. Everybody has to do these stand-up pray for AEW promos. Stop doing this. MJF said that he did Daniel Garcia a favor. If he would have wrestled Will Ospreay, even if he would have won, the crowd would have turned on him because they're fickle. He says that the more you rise, the more people want to see you fail. And then he went into old MJF and did some shtick about Daniel Garcia's mom. Daniel Garcia stormed up the stairs to get into the crowd. He pushed back some security and all that, only to get bashed in the head with a bottle by MJF. MJF then said that he did him a favor, and then he kissed his bloody head. Kissed him where he made him bleed on the head when he hit him with the bottle. And I was like, these dudes are mentally ill in AEW. They're drinking each other's blood. They're kissing each other's blood. They're licking each other's blood. What is wrong with these people? Why are they doing this? Is that what they think wrestling is? Do they think that wrestlers are all about, like, everybody's Abdullah the Butcher now? Are you out of your mind? What is this, Puerto Rico? Why are you guys acting like this? Why is everybody a vampire all of a sudden? This is sick. This is disgusting. MJF should be above stuff like this. You don't need to be gross. I'm getting hives just thinking about with this. This is disgusting, bro. This was sick. Mark Briscoe rambled about something or other. I don't remember. Okada went 20 minutes with Fletcher. What a disaster. What a disaster. Who is the star? 20 minutes with Fletcher. Well, I guess 20 minutes would have been a time limit draw. It wasn't 20 minutes. It was 19 and some change. But 20 minutes, okay? What a disaster. Swerve bought his childhood home. You know, it was nice. He got memories and talked about how he lost it in the foreclosure. But now he got that sweet big bankroll from Tony Khan. He could go back and get the house from foreclosure because that's how these things work. You can definitely leave a house for 15, 20 years and just come back and buy it. That absolutely can happen. Then he thanked Prince Nana for helping him get his home back. And I'm like, okay, is Swerve a babyface now? We're supposed to feel good about him going back and buying his mom's old house. Like, that was great. I actually genuinely liked it because I thought it was for real. They worked me on this one. And then I saw that they burned it down. Or at least they did some CGI or whatever to burn it down later. So they had Hangman burn Swerve's house down, his childhood home, which is cartoon supervillain stuff. And I'm saying, like, who's the heel? One's a home invader, the other's an arsonist. Who's the babyface in this situation? Who am I supposed to cheer? Am I supposed to cheer the home invader now that his home has been burned down, which was done in retaliation for home invasion and child terrorizing? This is brain dead booking, but at least it was entertaining. Ain't nothing wrong with burning a nigga's house down. It is what it is. Jamie Hayter defeated some girl named Robin Renegade, who I've seen before, or whatever. Roderick Strong wants to wrestle Hook, but he doesn't want to wrestle him tonight. He'll wrestle him at some point in the future. I don't care. Moxley and Marina Shafir were beating up some jabronis backstage. Well, Marina Shafir was. They're trying to make her look tough, but you don't know her. And I don't know her either. Then John Moxley came out there. He's still a skinhead, still with the earring. He panted around the ring, said he's looking for Darby Allin, said Darby Allin was special, that he plays his game the way it was meant to be played with reckless abandon, and that's how it should be. He says that he knows that working in this company, being in this business is a privilege. Then he says that he just wants to talk to Darby Allin, so he doesn't want to apply any pressure, but he will if he has to. But Darby, he just wants to talk. Darby, where are you? Where are you, buddy? Like, maybe you should have talked to him before he got put in that casket. Maybe you should have talked to him before he set him on fire that time. Why you can't call him on the phone? Send him an email. I'm pretty sure he has an Instagram or a Twitter account or a Facebook. Why you coming out there talking to this man every week? That's all right, though. They're trying to build something here with Moxley. But they didn't build on that thing from last week where he said to Tony Schiavone, this isn't your company anymore. They didn't build on that. They just left that little icicle dangling. Like, they introduced what was probably the most interesting angle from last week. It's like, what did you mean by this isn't your company anymore? And then they just left that part alone. Now he's back to talking about how he wants to talk to Darby Allin. I don't care about what he has to say to Darby Allin, to be quite honest. But, okay. I was interested in a different thing, but they represented this, so it is what it is. Jericho is still talking about his $7,000 white jacket that Orange Cassidy wasted orange juice all over. He wants his money. Then he says that Brian Keith is going to take it out of Orange Cassidy's ass. Well, he called it his hide on Rampage or Collision, something like that. Orange Cassidy stepped onto the scene, but did not address Chris Jericho at all. Instead told Brian Keith that if he won, he would give Chris Jericho $7,000 cash. And then they were mad because he ignored Chris Jericho. He didn't respect Chris Jericho. Anyway, Mariah May defeated Nyla Rose. Why is Nyla Rose getting a title shot? Why is this happening? Why am I even talking about it? They did a Deonna Purrazzo vignette for no reason, because Deonna Purrazzo ain't been on this show in months. Mercedes Moné cut a promo, said that Sheeta ain't the ace because she ain't the face of TBS. Sheeta said, you cannot beat me, even though you already beat me like 3 weeks ago. And then they banned Camille from ringside for their match at All Out. Pathetic. I love Sheeta, but this was pathetic. The Elite, they had a promo. Oh, I forgot. We gotta back up a little bit. Moxley, when he came out after him and Marina Shafir were beating up all the putties, he looked at Jack Perry and said that he was a sweet kid. I don't care what anyone says. You're a sweet kid. And Jack, I think he blushed a little bit. Did you see that? I saw it. Anyway, Jack Perry cut a promo talking about how he was in the ring when Danielson first showed up 2 years ago or 3 years ago or whatever. And he always wanted to be in the ring, standing across the ring from Danielson. But once all that stuff happened last year, he was exiled and he thought it would never happen, that Danielson's career would end before they actually got a chance. But now he's got that opportunity to wrestle Danielson at All Out. And he says that while he was on excursion, Danielson could have helped him, but he didn't, because all he cares about is his own fairy tale ending. And I was like, oh, they're really stressing this. This is not good. This is not good. It doesn't work. I don't care about Jack Perry. Everybody's trying to draw some kind of correlation between Sami Zayn and Gunther and Jack Perry and Danielson. Look, here's the difference. Sami Zayn pinned Gunther when nobody else did. How many matches has Danielson lost this year? Numerous. What's so special about Jack Perry that we should care that he was one of the people who beat Danielson? And I think he beat him in a tag team match too. Look, man, you can't get people into this. Who cares? Anyway, Danielson sat ringside while Pac, Claudio, and Wheeler Yuta defeated Orange Cassidy, Kyle O'Reilly, and Will Ospreay in a match that I didn't watch. Again, didn't watch 1 second of it. Afterwards, Claudio challenged the Young Bucks to a tag team championship match. So Claudio and Wheeler Yuta will wrestle the Young Bucks at All Out in a match that was literally made within 10 minutes of the show going off the air. Great booking. Absolutely fantastic booking. Inspired booking, I might add. This show was dreadful. Dreadful. Any show that features Nyla Rose is already deserves to go into the bin. But then you got 20 minutes of Fletcher. You got, I don't know what their thinking is with this conglomeration thing. I'm not a fan. Don't care about that. Mark Briscoe's energy is great. He's funny. He did a little rhyme here that I thought that was fun too. But it's just a bunch of people together. And I don't even understand what they're doing together. The big thing here is, where the hell was Ricochet? Ricochet is not going to have a match at All Out. You mean you give 20 minutes to Kyle Fletcher and not to the guy your hot free agent? Look, this is why I said when Ricochet was brought in that putting Ricochet in that battle royal was a mistake. And I know I said if he was going to be in it, he should win it. But I also said it would have been smarter if you would have just shown a video of Ricochet and then said he was going to make his debut at All Out. And then you could have put him in a match with somebody at All Out and built that up. You still would have had time to have somebody call him out or whatever, just a showcase match so he can win and do his thing. But now he's already missed the first pay-per-view since he's been signed. He's already missed one pay-per-view. That's insane. And it is literally for no reason. Because Tony Khan can't book. He can't think. Wait till we get to look at this card. Wait till we get a gander at this damn card and tell me that it's worthy of leaving people. Okada's also, well, he's on the card. He's on the card in a throwaway match, though. So we'll talk about that right now. Let's get into AEW All Out, which will air September the 7th from Hoffman Estates, Illinois, which is, I think, right outside of Chicago. Right now, the tickets distributed is 6,511. That means the current setup is 7,563. The available tickets, according to WrestleTix, 1,052. So less than 7,000 people will be in the building for All Out, which is AEW's biggest, one of their biggest shows of the year. This is after they spent all that money on Mercedes and Ospreay and big money Swerve and Ricochet and Okada and Moxley. I mean, just sheesh, right? Right now, as we speak, this is before Collision and Rampage are taped. So as of right now, 8 matches are set. There'll probably end up being 9 or 10. So let's get into the card, as weak as it is, even though it's actually not terrible. It's not a terrible card, but it's not the strongest card in the world either. First up, Willow Nightingale versus Chris Statlander, Chicago Street Fight for the CMLL Women's World Title. So, looking at this card, there is no AEW Women's Championship match on this card. Instead, Willow Nightingale will defend another company's belt on this show. Look, do as you please. And since it's another company's belt, I would expect Willow to win because, unless they talk CMLL into, letting Statlander take the belt, then Willow wins. That's easy. Maybe they talked Chris Statlander into winning. I love Statlander. It would be great if she was doing something, important like being a champion or contending for a championship, a legitimate championship within AEW, by the way. I don't mean like the CMLL women's title, because it's like, what's that? So I'm going to go with Willow Nightingale. And that's pretty much that. Next, Will Ospreay versus Pac, a singles match for the International Championship. This is a match that I can actually get behind. I like Pac. I'm a big fan of the Bastard. And Will Ospreay is a good athletic worker. So the work rate mark within me is interested in this contest. Even though I know that by the time they start doing 15 minutes of tumbles and no selling and, spinning Zangief power bombs on the floor, I'm just going to get pissed. But I'm actually very interested in this match because sometimes I do like fast-paced, high impact matches. And this seems like it's going to be a really good one. There's not much storyline here, but at least it's going to be an action-packed match. And of course, I expect Will Ospreay to win. MJF versus Daniel Garcia. Okay, I said before that for the furthering of Daniel Garcia's career, he should win. It's not going to hurt MJF to lose to Daniel Garcia. But it seems like Daniel Garcia is somebody that they're going to put the gas behind. And since you've already decided to put the gas behind him, go all the way with it. He needs to win this match, and then he needs to be wrestling for a championship. A championship that matters. Not that stupid Continental belt. Maybe wrestling Jack Perry for the TNT belt, or maybe Will Ospreay for the international belt. But I'm okay with him beating MJF. I would imagine Tony Khan is going to have MJF win because, I don't know, but it's like MJF is kind of maxed out all his stats right now. So it's like, if MJF wins, then what? You build up some other young guy for MJF to beat in the future? Just let Daniel Garcia win and then put him in a title picture and see if he can step it up. He might even be a strong opponent to Russell Danielson. Of course, Danielson's not going to lose, but he also is not going to lose to Jack Perry. So, I mean, it is what it is. Just do something to show that you're sincere about Daniel Garcia and you're sincere about the push that you're trying to give him. He should beat MJF. Oh, okay. Next, Kazuchika Okada, who is absolute laundry, by the way, versus 3 opponents in a fatal 4-way match for the AEW Continental Championship. Now, what they could have done, instead of having all these garbage matches on the show that they did have, is they probably could have filled up that Continental Crown thing on this show. It would have been nice, right? If you could have said, well, there's going to be 3 matches tonight. The winner of those 3 matches will be featured in the Continental Championship match at All Out. I might have actually watched those matches if they'd have done that. But instead, no, we got to give TV time to Mariah May versus Nyla Rose. And 20 minutes for Kyle Fletcher. What a decision. And oh yeah, you got to make sure you get Kyle O'Reilly, that huge star, on television. So I don't even know who the options are for this fatal 4-way match. And I don't care. This belt is useless. Okay? Who gives a shit? The Young Bucks versus the Blackpool Combat Club. That'll be Claudio Castagnoli and Wheeler Yuta. The Young Bucks are not going to lose because Claudio and Yuta just challenged them out of nowhere and got a title shot. They're the Trios champions. And what happened to the Acclaimed? What happened to FTR? What happened to the Grizzled Young Veterans? Where did they go? I'm gritting my teeth. I'm gritting them. You see, I'm gritting my teeth. I grit your teeth. My teeth are grit. And nothing happened. What's supposed to happen when you grit your teeth? Nothing happened. Anyway, Mercedes Moné versus Hikaru Shida. Camille is banned from ringside, and this match is for the AEW TBS Championship. Well, Mercedes beat Hikaru Shida like 3 or 4 weeks ago. I expect her to beat her again. Because why would Mercedes lose to Hikaru Shida? Now, I like Shida. Big fan. But she is like Okada, where they come across like pets. Like they just, or small children. And they're being degenerates. Say the bad word. Bitch. Yay! You see the little girl cuss too. You got the little boy to cuss. You got the little girls cussing. It's like real ghetto trailer trash morality where we got these dignified Japanese folks just coming around cussing and trying to be very innocent and cussing too. They don't even sound like they normally say stuff like that, which makes it funnier, and it's a big pop. But everybody loves Hikaru Shida, but she's not going to win this match. She had no business even being in it because she just lost a couple of weeks ago. So Mercedes Moné is going to win. This show is very easy to predict. There has to be a shoehorn somewhere in this card, because right now it looks like this show is going to be incredibly predictable. Bryan Danielson versus Jack Perry for the AEW World Championship. Ain't no way Jack Perry becoming the world champion, unless they want this company to go out of business. Like if they want this company to die, then you put the belt on Jack Perry. He's giving me 2001 ECW Steve Corino vibes. And you may pretend that you like Steve Corino and ECW, but you're a liar because nobody liked him. And that's why the company went out of business. Corino, Just Incredible, and Rhino. 3 worst decisions Heyman ever made booking. All 3 of them. We got to make new stars. We got to make new stars. We're going to have Rhino beat the Sandman every week. Power drive him through a table. Power drive his wife through the table. And selling fewer and fewer tickets and fewer people watching as we do it. This is what they're doing with Jack Perry. Take your pick. You could either say he's Steve Corino, or you could say he's Just Incredible. He's one or the other. They both sucked, and they both killed ECW. In terms of being bland, uninteresting bums that ended up being world champions because Paul Heyman was running out of ideas and was trying to make stars by throwing belts on guys, that's what's happening with Jack Perry right now. We don't know what to do. We need to make a star. Throw a belt on Jack Perry, for God's sake. That's our life preserver. No. Jackson Perry is trash. Okay? He's trash. Basura. Danielson's going to win. And what should be the main event of the evening? Swerve Strickland versus Hangman Page Steel Cage Lights Out match. Now this one's tough to predict because of the way the company has written both characters. It's essentially a heel program where, again, like I said, it's an arsonist and a home invader. They're about to have a fight. But there's extra story elements in it, such as Swerve never really getting that clean victory over Hangman, and Hangman not feeling vindicated even after he beat up Swerve. Not really feeling vindicated after doing that. So he never felt like he got his full revenge on Swerve. Now, the most recent writing of the story makes Swerve the babyface, and therefore Swerve should win. But if Swerve wins, this feud is over. In my eyes, I don't see how you can justify having another match if Swerve wins. If Hangman wins, you could still have Swerve obsessed with him because he burned his family home down. So it all depends on what direction you're going in terms of if this is the final chapter or not. I would imagine it is. It's the 4th singles match, the 5th match overall, maybe the 6th. I think they've done a bunch of tag team matches and some triple threats against each other too. So this has been a pretty long chapter in AEW's book. I think it's time to close it out. So this should main event the show, and Swerve should win it. What you should do afterwards, I don't know. I don't know how these two guys can coexist, because you keep up in the ante where, there's home invasions and there's blood drinking and there's houses being set on fire. The title is not even involved anymore. So I don't know what you can possibly do. Somebody's going to break out a guillotine next. Is Swerve going to come home one day and find a burning cross on his lawn? Is, Hangman going to find his kid tied up in a basement somewhere? Like, how much more outlandish can we go here? Like, I appreciate the effort that these guys are putting in. I really do. But at some point, we gotta end this thing. So hopefully this is it. And we won't have to get into the absurdity of, Hangman's head being on a pike outside of the city limits or some crazy shit like that. So I'm going to go with Swerve wins. I expect this to be bloody and absolutely abhorrent to my sensibilities. But it ought to be at least an interesting match. It's going to be fun at the very least. This is one of the few matches I'm looking forward to because of how absurd this feud has been. Swerve has been good in the ring and as a personality, even though it's been completely inconsistent. Hangman's character has been consistent in terms of him being obsessed with Swerve and wanting Swerve to die, essentially. And I just wish that I cared about one of these guys winning and not just this feud needs to be over. Like, that's where I kind of sit here, is that I'm not rooting for anybody because you've shown me that both characters are essentially evil. So it's not that I want to see somebody overcome evil. It's that Hangman has already given in to his darker, intrusive urges, and he's already gone overboard. And Swerve is already evil incarnate, you know. And even when you were trying to make him a good guy, you decided to destroy it by making him want to murder Bryan Danielson, whom everybody loves. So it's like 2 weeks ago, Swerve was one of the most evil bastards in the history of the world. Now he's supposed to have sympathy for him because Hangman burned his house down. No, that doesn't make sense. You know, I understand they're trying to do complex storytelling as I adjust my tie and tip my hat, but it's not. It's inconsistent. You don't know whether Swerve's a good guy or a bad guy, so you make him both. He changes depending on who he's feuding with, which is not how stories are told. You know, you don't just be like, I'm a good guy now, I'm a bad guy now, I'm a good guy now, I'm a bad guy now. It's like, and all within the span of weeks. It's been like less than a month that we've seen this guy go from heel to babyface to heel to babyface. Like, come on, that's ridiculous. So that makes this match hard to gauge, but I'm going to go with Swerve. Even though I think Swerve getting his house burned down, he kind of earned it. All right, so let's go through this thing one more time for the people in the back. Will Ospreay to defeat Pac. Willow Nightingale to defeat Chris Statlander. Swerve to defeat Hangman. Daniel Garcia to beat MJF. Mercedes Moné to defeat Hikaru Shida. The Young Bucks to defeat the Blackpool Combat Club. I would imagine Kazuchika Okada is going to maintain being the Continental Champion. I don't know why you would switch the belt. Nobody's in a position to win it. So, whatever. And Bryan Danielson to retain against Jack Perry. So, it's a solid card. It's probably going to end up still being 4 hours how AEW do things. But I don't care. So, there's actually matches on this show that I'm willing to watch. So, I will watch Will Ospreay and Pac. I will watch Swerve and Hangman. I will watch MJF and Daniel Garcia. I will likely watch Mercedes Moné versus Hikaru Shida. I might watch the Fatal 4-Way match depending on who's in it. I have no interest in the Young Bucks. I have no interest. I have some interest in Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander because I like Chris Statlander and I like Willow. That main event, though, that Danielson versus Jack Perry, oh boy. My interest in that is zero. Zilch. But Danielson having his last run, I guess it's fine. But let me know what you guys think. Like, share, subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. I appreciate everybody. Peace out.
No one does it better.